Hi, this is Kenneth,
Hi, this is Antony.
and we have some updates for you this week. What would you like to start with first, Anthony?
Let's just bring up some of the our content so people can kind of see our news trailer, and we can talk through, some of the gameplay that we're working on that we're kind of excited about.
Got it.
Chris, our creative designer, had created this trailer. We think it's looking pretty good. And what you're seeing here is this mixed gameplay that we are really experimenting with, which is part mobile game and then part highly immersive AR. So here is, again, an early version of the geolocated part where you'll run around kind of like Pokemon Go, but we also give you the ability to run around remotely, meaning you can use like a joystick on your phone. Then you'll enter portals and then you'll play a hack and slash type RPG game. And so that's what you're seeing in that screen. And then that all leads to being able to collect things in the real world and battle monsters in augmented reality. So we're really playing with this idea that we have these two realms, and one realm is when you play in the mobile game version, and the other realm is when you actually go experience things in the real world, and that is when monsters come into our world. So we're really excited about this gameplay to see if we can start to actually bring in an RPG world into people's reality, where we start to envision our neighborhoods a little differently.
In terms of actual development work that's been changing the past 2 weeks, anything you'd like to start with there?
Yeah. So you know, we're the geolocated aspect of it is tricky. We want to build it in a way where there's enough things to do around you, but also tie them to things that are of importance, like I don't know, restaurants, cafes, actual points of interest. But we don't want to randomize all these kind of points of interest where they make no sense. But at the same time, we actually don't have a robust data set for that stuff. So the past couple of weeks has been trying to figure out how to get things on the map that will mean something to someone living in that area. So if I open up the app, I want to see something interesting to go to, my local park, a local Starbucks that's interesting. I don't want to have a point of interest that's like some random guy's house. So we're working on generating that in a scalable way right now. So that's been a big piece of work that we've been doing. We've also been working on the dungeons quite a lot. So, this game's not going to be anything if going into the dungeon isn't, exciting each time and there's some type of goal. Right now, we have a very generic dungeon. You go in there, you kind of battle monsters and skeletons, but we want to start building a narrative in there. Like, why are you going into this dungeon? Are you collecting a piece of loot? Are you, trying to collect treasure? And then how does that affect your character overall? And why does that matter to your character's progression? All of that is, again, not easy, but it's also fun. And our developers, John, Jack, Brandon, Max, they're doing a great job of making all of that more interesting for players.
Next up, I'm just going to do a quick divergence and show you some of the new monsters that we'll be adding. Here we have a golem type rock monster. We got a mummy going on over here. Here's an example of one of the armor pieces that was recently completed.
Let's go back to some of the monsters, and we can talk through kind of our ideas there.
Sure.
So, look, building an MMO RPG is no easy task. Like, for this to be successful, we need to build out a really robust world with a lot of cool monsters that have some story and part of the character's progression in that story. Now, when you see all these monsters, one thing to kind of, again, we want our players to understand and realize is that the world that they're playing in is the actual world. So one cool thing will be we're going to start breaking out like Los Angeles is our first kind of test bed. We're going to start breaking out Los Angeles into little pockets where maybe Culver City is the undead area. Maybe actually better yet, it would be at
Hollywood Forever Cemetery.
exactly, right. And we want people to start thinking about the world that way, where what would this part of the real world be in an RPG game, right? So exactly, Kenneth. The Hollywood Cemetery would be where a mummy would show up, and you're gonna fight mummies there and get undead pieces of armor. Maybe the rock part of the, where you go hiking is where you encounter the rock monster. So when you're seeing these monsters, one, we think we could have pretty much any monster available since the world is so vast. But a big challenge for us is going to be, what makes sense at any particular location for it to make that really come to life for the player.
And to add with the contextual element of the monster spawns, something else we'll be looking into as well is, are there any rare items that make more sense as potential drops in specific locations?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, again, we'll use the Hollywood Cemetery example. Like, you should go into Hollywood Cemetery, see undead monsters. You should get undead curses as you enter that area. And then, sorry, my cat's going crazy. And then you should be collecting, undead artifacts in that area. It should drop at a higher percentage in those areas. So really starting to build out this story that our real world is our gaming world, and what would make the most sense there. Again, no easy task, but we think it could be really, really cool if we build this correctly.
Any final notes to close out the week? I know that we've had a little bit in terms of the dungeon updates.
You want to talk about dungeon updates? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Well, development-wise, one, like we said, we're working on the dungeons right now. Initially, they were kind of like algorithmically randomized, but going in there, it kind of felt boring to go into just a random dungeon. You're like, what's the point of it? So we're trying to actually still use some type of scalable algorithm to make the dungeons, but still have a progression. So maybe you'll enter the easy part of the dungeon first and then go into a harder, and then fight the boss at the end of that dungeon, and then you'll get a loot box. Something like that, which makes sense as to, what the progression of is in these dungeons. As well as, it's not an easy task to get these monsters to show up in an interesting way either, right? You don't want them to just kind of be random. You want them to kind of come at you in mobs and have, somewhat of a design to it as well. So that's a really big challenge to do it in a way that hopefully feels fresh each time, but at the same time can be scalable in a game where we're not having to create 1 million different dungeons custom. That's a big challenge for the team.
And that wraps it up for this week. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Also, our Discord is getting a little more active, so feel free to hop in and participate there. Bye.
Yeah. Take care, guys. Bye.